Before we jump into the runtime demo, let me give you a quick overview about the application we're going to use and the scenarios we are going to explore. Here is the use case that we are going to leverage to illustrate how AgilePoint can operationalize AI cost effectively through high-valued process. A perfect example of such process is order to cash, as you are seeing on screen. It's cross-functional, it's tied directly to the revenue generation and customer experience. At the top, we have the three predictive AI agents we've been reviewed their configuration earlier. These predictive AI agents will monitor key stages of the value stream and ensure that the process executes in a way that is continually aligned with the company objective. It does so by mitigating risk and capitalizing on opportunity and adapting the process execution, like adding steps on the fly, moving forward or backwards in the process, etc., based on what's best for the organization at a particular time. In other words, they are watching over the process to proactively adapt it and ensure for the best possible execution. So before we dive deeper, let's have a high level view of the control tower behavior that you're seeing on screen. The predictive AI agent on the top middle is of type initiate sub-process and has been built through the exact specification of the order processing team to ensure exception and order alerts are handled gracefully and in the context of this transaction. The predictive AI agent on the top left hand is of type get prediction to get a recommended activity to follow in the case of exception predicted. Lastly, the predictive AI agent on the top right is of type adapt flow and has been built to mitigate risks associated with fulfillment and logistic, this time to the exact specification of the logistic team. So we're drilling in and seeing a little more details. And before we touch on the specific functions of each predictive AI agent, let's take a look on the typical process flow for an order. As an example, if the total sales amount is under $1 million, we would typically proceed from the sales order stage directly to fulfillment. But this would treat all products ordered the exact same, when there is likely very important context that might warrant different treatment for the best possible outcome for our organization. So with that being said, let's take a look on each of these predictive AI agents, which act as supervisors for each instance of our order to cash process and can even monitor across processes as needed. So the first two predictive AI agents we have on the top left are handling the export control and looking for characteristic of products being purchased. So as an example, if product order is a high demand, we might want to treat it differently than products that sit on our warehouse for a longer period of time. Control Tower is going to make this possible without adding significant complexity and maintenance overhead to our application itself. The third predictive AI agent on the top right is looking at the likelihood for shipping exceptions to ensure that we are able to deliver products on time. And it will take a corrective actions if there is a good chance that the delivery window will be missed. Over the next couple of slides is an illustration not only of how precisely the control tower works, but also shows you the different modes that the control tower can operate in. The first scenario offers a non-deterministic execution and brings a human in the loop, where the control tower is going to make a suggestion by initiating a sub-process which will assign a human task to the application owner or subject matter expert, where they can either reject or accept the control tower recommendation, which will also enable them to adapt the flow according to the recommendation or as they find fit to their decision. So what you're going to see here is a salesperson entering an order with a total sales amount that is under $1 million. Now that being said, the products purchased are going to be in a high demand. So the control tower will recognize this and issue an alert that there is an order exception. And in doing so, is going to pause all of our downstream tasks. The control tower is going to surface a recommendation to an application owner or subject matter expert and suggest that a task is dynamically inserted into the process. Now the task that gets inserted is up to what comes back from the prediction model, but in the case of our high demand product, it might be a task to the finance team, where they can validate that the customer credit worthiness and payment terms are in alignment with a product of that sort of popularity. Now, assuming this task is completed, we are going to perform an ad hoc skip forward in the process and remove the log from our downstream steps, essentially resuming the normal flow. Now, scenario 2 is going to work a little bit differently. Rather than surfacing a suggestion to our application owner or subject matter expert, the control tower is going to take an automated action. Now in this case, as you might recall, what we are looking at here is the likelihood for a shipping delay. So if the prediction model determines that there is a high level of certainty that the shipment won't reach our customer on time with the current fulfillment configuration, the predictive AI agent of type adapt flow is going to automatically roll the process backward from the waiting for shipment stage back to fulfillment, where we can adjust the method of shipment and delivery date to avoid an unhappy customer. Okay, so with these details out of the way, let's jump back to AgilePoint and see the control tower and predictive AI agents in action. Let's head into the work center where we can see this in action. Okay, so I'm currently on a customized order-to-cash work center, which was created using the AgilePoint Page Builder and Analytics Center. On the top, I have various report widgets, which shows us different stats for the AI control tower predictive AI agents and the prediction models underneath them, such as the distribution for the prediction label from the export control, the distribution for the prediction label from the shipping delay risk, and in the middle we have the average prediction score. Now as you can see, the average prediction score is quite high, 95%. Reason for this is that, as you probably know, AgilePoint automatically audit any application it executes for both the execution data as well as the application data. This is a very high quality decision-based data, which we use for training data to train the prediction model, resulting with a very high accuracy prediction model. Below that, I have, as you're probably familiar with, the work center, and below we have one more report which shows us both current and past order-to-cash requests, also including the prediction for the export control with the prediction label and score, and the prediction for the shipping delay risk with the label and score. With the prediction data being captured, audited, and visualized using these different widgets and reports, you can already start to see how we can get a clear oversight at any given time about how AI is being used and its performance across our applications. Now, before initiating a new order-to-cash request, let me just point out that I'll be playing all the different roles within this application just to save us the time for logging off and logging in with a different user. So let's go ahead and kick off an order-to-cash request. So the order-to-cash initiation form is now loaded, and as you can see, we have quite some fields we need to fill out in here. To save the time, I'm going to click on this magic button, which will automatically populate the different fields with the required information. Now, some of these fields are going to be used by the first two predictive AI agents to be sent into the predictive model for export control, such as the VIP account, the payment terms, and others. And of course, the ordered items. Now, the stainless steel electrodes is one of those items that is under high demand, and together with a quantity of 40 and a unit price of $5,000 per item, we are staying below the $1 million thresholds we mentioned earlier. And together with other parameters the model uses, this should kick off the export control alert. So let's submit this and get it rolling. Let's now refresh the work center. And as you can see, we have two tasks being assigned to me. The first task, shipping details, is from the normal route of our main flow. Whereas the second task, order exception alert, is from a sub-process that has been initiated by the export control predictive AI agent for initiating a sub-process. This task will include the predictive AI model recommendation and will allow me to adapt the main flow as I see fit. Now, if I open the first task, shipping details, we should get a message from AgilePoint saying this task is currently locked. Here it is. As mentioned, we are locking the downstream task on the main flow, not allowing the main flow to proceed before we take the adaptation decision based on the AI control tower alert. So let's OK this. And now if we open the order exception, we should now see the alert and prediction. Here it is, the control tower alert and prediction. Now, as a reminder, the first scenario is where we are seeing human in the loop, which means that we are using the prediction made by the AI as a recommendation, but still keep the decision to be taken by our users. And here we can see the alert made by the AI control tower and the prediction by the first two predictive AI agents for the export control. First is predicting that products in this order are of type of high demand with a probability of 95%. And the second is saying that based on this finding, the next best action or task to be injected into our main flow is the finance approval. Now, as a user, I can see this recommendation and take the action using this form. And this form will allow me to inject a task which I can configure in here into our main flow activities shown in here. So I can decide to inject a task to myself, and I can assign myself with 1 day to complete this task, and I can decide which task I want to inject. Now, although the predictive AI model is predicting that the finance approval is the best recommended next task to handle high demand type of an exception, as a user, I can decide to use other tasks. As a user, I may have a bigger picture, a deeper understanding of this order of the customer and other factors, and can take any other decision. And that's where we are saying we are using the AI as a recommendation, but still keep the decision by the users. But I'm going to stick with the finance approval. And additionally, I can also decide to lock the parent task. And parent task would be the shipping details from our main flow. This would be the main flow, the parent task for the task I'm going to inject in here. And by locking it, it essentially means that we are going to dynamically add a sequential task before the shipping details. So we have first the finance approval, and sequentially we have next the shipping details. Now, if I do not inject, it basically means like in parallel, they can both be executed in parallel. But I'm going to stick with the locking, and again, I'm going to inject it into the shipping details. Now, before submitting, again, just to make sure, this is where we see the human in the loop. As we mentioned, the AI control tower will allow you to use AI without losing oversight and while keeping high control, governance, and close collaboration with humans. And that's where we can see AI and humans, or our users, collaborating tightly in order to take better decision making. So at this point, let's submit and get it moving. So now we've injected the finance approval task into our main flow. So let me now refresh the work center, and as you can see, I've been added and injected with a finance approval task. So if I open the finance approval task at this point, I can see the details. And again, normally we should only get to the finance approval if the order is above $1 million, and in this case we are not. So again, we have the alert. We can see that the reason we have the finance approval is because of an exception alert and adaptation of the main flow because of the AI control tower, which predicted products in here are high demand with a probability of 95%, and as a result we recommend it to have a finance approval as we've seen before. And at this point, as the finance approval team, I can review the order, I can review the payment terms, I can review the payment worthy of these customers and many other factors to decide whether this order does indeed serve the best interest of our company. But for now, I'm going to stick with the happy path and just say approve, approved after reviewed, clear to go. Okay, and sorry for the typos, and let's add a comment and now submit and get it moving. And at this point I can handle the shipping details. We are basically, once completing on the finance approval, we have removed the lock and resumed to our normal flow. And at this point I can do the shipment details just as the normal flow. Can decide this. Now, before submitting these shipment details, and in order to make sure that the next predictive AI agent for the shipment delay risk will kick off an alert, let me change the delivery date and take some very aggressive delivery, and let's take maybe September 30. So we only have 3 days to deliver this shipment, which is very aggressive. And together with other parameters, the shipping delay prediction model gets, it should find this to be with a high risk for a delay. So let's submit this now. Now let me refresh the work center, and we have one more task to complete before we get to the next predictive AI agent for the shipping delay. Now, before we do that, let me just open the process viewer, and let's open it in its own tab so we can monitor the process as we go through. So again, we are currently on the order insurance. This is one more task we need to do before we kick off the next predictive AI agent, which is waiting for the event of the enter activity instance of the wait for shipment. So now let me go back in here and open the order insurance, and I'm gonna stick with the standard insurance provider and submit. And now let's back into the monitor, and this should refresh in a few seconds. And what you should see is that the process will route and get into the wait for shipment, but immediately roll back into the shipping details, as you can see on the screen right now. Okay, now again, this scenario is to showcase how the predictive AI agent is taking an autonomous action based on the AI prediction. Unlike the first scenario where we saw human in the loop, this time we are giving a full autonomy to the predictive AI agent to take the action according to the predictive prediction made from the prediction model, and within, again, certain very clear boundaries, like probability is higher than a certain level and other factors as we configure in the predictive AI agent. And now at this point we are rolling back to the shipping details, where we can shipping team and fulfillment team can adjust the shipping details, like changing the delivery dates, or changing the shipping method, or using a different shipping provider, and so on, so we can mitigate on the risk and make sure we do not get an unhappy customer because of shipping being delayed. With this, we are now concluding the scenario 1 and scenario 2, where we saw the first 3 predictive AI agents working in action. But before we conclude on this runtime demo, we want to see one more thing. Again, as we mentioned, the AI control tower will allow you to use AI without losing oversight, while keeping high control high governance, and close collaboration with humans. So we already saw close collaboration with humans. We already saw we have a very clear oversight using the KPIs and reports we saw on the customized work center. But there's one more aspect to a very clear and detailed oversight and very detailed control and governance, which is relating to auditing that is being done on the AI predictive agents. So let's jump for this into the manage center and see this in action. So I'm gonna head into the manage center, and from the manage center I'm gonna head into runtime manage and then processes, and I'm gonna filter to look for our process. So this should be from this application. I'm going to look for running instances, and here's the instance we just executed. And in here you can see that we've been added with a new tab, AI Control Tower. And if we zoom into this tab and jump into it, then we can see that we have a very clear audit of each of the predictive AI agent as it executed with all of the data. Okay, so we can see the name of the predictive AI agent, the type of it, predictive. We had two for the control, for the export control. One is initiate sub-process, the other one is get prediction, and we had one for the shipping delay, which is adapt flow type. We can see the target triggered activity name, which triggered these predictive AI agents, the event, and many other details. And we can also just click on the details and see a full audit log with all the details. So again, the type of the predictive AI agent, the configuration it used, the event it was listening for, and the activity it was listening on for this event. We can see the input it used to send to the predictive AI agent. Sorry, the input is in here. And we can see the output, the prediction, the raw prediction we got from the predictive AI model. And lastly, and more importantly, we can also see the action it took, whether it took any action, and if it did, what action it took. So initiate sub-process, and that's the name of the sub-process it initiated, the condition for why initiating this sub-process, or the condition of why taking this action, and the resulting event ID of taking this action. So this is the event ID of the initiation of this sub-process, which we can then later on and drill in and see more details in it. So we have a very clear audit and a very detailed information about each action taken by the predictive AI agent. Likewise, we can see the details for the other AI agents. So this one is of type get prediction. It doesn't have any action by its own, so we don't see any action details, because again, this one does not have any action by its own. But we can see again the input it provided for the predictive AI model, and the output, the raw output it got from the predictive AI model, and so on. And lastly, we can see also the one for the shipping delay risk with all the details. And this basically shows the low details and accountability you can get for any AI inference and action that has been taken. So all this information is completely automatically audited, and you can track on it, you can report on it, as we've seen before in the customized work center. You can use it in order to track on how your predictive model progress as you create more models and you train them with new data. And you can mainly just get a very clear overview and a very clear control and governance about how AI is being used, its performance, and its impact and action it takes on your operation and processes. And by this, we are concluding on this runtime demo.